Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, Hugh Freeze, Auburn, taking care of business Saturday night against Ball State. And look, I ain't getting up here and talking about Auburn being a college football playoff team because they whooped Ball State's tail. The big storyline for me after going back and watching this, some of the biggest question marks you had about Auburn, they started to get answered last night. Like Jackson Arnold. Dill, here's the thing I'll start with Jackson Arnold. He is doing what this offense needs to put points up on the board. Week one against Baylor, they're leaving their two safeties high. Hey, we can run all over this team. That's what Jackson Arnold did. You look at Ball State and say, hey, they're giving you the underneath stuff in the passing attack. It's exactly what Jackson Arnold was taking. What we said in the offseason was Jackson Arnold does not need to come into this offense and be a Heisman caliber quarterback. He's got to come in and do his job. It's 2 straight weeks of watching Jackson Arnold play within the offense and do his job. 24 of 28, 251 yards. Take that every single day of the week if you're an Auburn fan. And all the questions were, hey, can Jackson Arnold get it to the playmakers on the outside? We saw him do that last night. Now, Dill, number 2, when I got up there and spent all offseason talking about Auburn as this dark horse to make the college football playoffs, when I closed my eyes and envisioned that version of Auburn, it was with the defense that we saw last night against Ball State. Ball State, 68 total yards of offense on the night, -3 rushing yards. That's the first time Auburn's defense has held a team to negative rushing yards since 2001. I did not fact check Hugh Freeze on that. That's what Hugh Freeze said. I'm going to take it as the truth. We know this defense can be like that, especially the front seven. Dill, what was the biggest question mark that we had about Auburn's defense coming in? It's the linebackers. Like, what were you going to get from the linebacker play? I thought the linebacker, specifically Xavier Atkins, was one of the best players on the field. The bigger storyline here is not necessarily Auburn winning 42-3. I don't even think they covered the spread, although I'm not really sure what the spread was. I think it was like 39. The biggest story was they started answering some questions that we have about Auburn. And Dill, doesn't it feel so good to talk about this Auburn team playing the way they should be playing? We've spent a lot of time talking Auburn over the last couple of years. A lot of positive in the offseason when we're winning recruiting battles. A lot of negative in the season when we ain't playing up to the talent on paper. You saw Auburn do that last night. Want to talk about it, dive a little bit deeper into what we saw from Jackson, talk about what we saw from Jeremiah Cobb, because, hey, that's a storyline too. Before we get into it, as always, to the Auburn fans, appreciate you guys. Many of y'all been rocking with the boys for a while. The slow build that Hugh Freeze has been building with Auburn. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I apologize for the long intro. I will now give you the T-box here. Auburn, let's talk about Jackson Arnold first. Evaluating Jackson Arnold's performance, what you got for us?
I really like the fact that they were able to get him into like that point guard role a little bit where he wasn't doing anything heroic, but he was distributing the ball really efficiently, getting those playmakers in space. Because we said it, like, if this Auburn offense is going to be the best version of itself, it's really nice to have a really good run game. And I'm sure Auburn would have been able to pretty much exclusively run the ball and dominate that game. But if you're going to be what I think Auburn can be in terms of its ceiling on offense, that is going to be involving Cam Coleman, Singleton, Malcolm Simmons in the game pretty heavily. And I feel like today, more so than the Baylor game, where it was kind of like Jackson Arnold popping big runs, the running game really kind of humming, hitting a couple of big plays through the air, but not necessarily having a ton of rhythm. I thought you felt like you had really good rhythm in terms of getting the ball out quickly on time and letting guys make plays.
Point guard of the offense is probably the best way to describe Jackson Arnold last night. And that's the best way to describe if this Auburn team becomes dangerous. Like, that's probably how we're going to be talking about Auburn. You don't have to do a ton if you're Jackson Arnold. Just run what Hugh Freeze is dialing up and do it quickly.
But it's nice. It's nice to, in moments where they need his legs or they need him to reel off a big one.
Agreed.
He definitely has that talent. I feel like that's what you've seen with him in the past.
Yes.
But you haven't always seen him be able to play particularly well on rhythm. I thought he played really well in that realm.
If you can see Jackson be that point guard, playing with the rhythm that you're talking about, but also when you start bumping up against some really good teams in the SEC, when you start bumping up against those teams and it ain't always perfect, do you have that ability to go be a playmaker? Because we think Jackson Arnold does have that ability. Now, here's the question you want to see, especially as they get into a little bit of stiffer competition? Can you be that difference maker, but also keep the ball out of harm's way? And so far, that's what you're seeing from Jackson Arnold. I don't think he's being careless with the ball. In fact, when the worst plays on offense from Auburn were probably when Jackson Arnold was trying to do a little too much getting outside the pocket. We know you can do it. You just got to make sure you walk that line well. Jeremiah Cobb, I think if Austin was healthy, like they probably would have ran it for 250 yards. I think there was a pretty strong emphasis on, hey, let's get some chemistry going with Jackson Arnold, these playmakers on the outside. Whenever they wanted to run it, they had a lot of success doing it. The storyline for me, and I'm sure you're going to talk about the offensive line, which I appreciate because I thought they played well, and it's a unit that can move bodies, man. It is a really big physical unit. I love what I saw from Jeremiah Cobb. In fact, I love what I've seen from these running backs as a whole through the first 2 weeks. They ain't trying to do too much. Like they're attacking the line of scrimmage, taking what's there. When it's time to go be explosive, they can be explosive too. Early in Jeremiah Cobb's career, a little bounce happy. Track and field superstar coming out of high school. He has the long speed. To watch him get vertical and attack the line of scrimmage routinely in this game, I thought was a massive plus for how I evaluated Jeremiah Cobb on the night.
Especially when your offensive line is going to play that way. You want your running backs being downhill because they are giving you that sort of run, if you will. Yeah. So for him to develop that part of his game. And again, like you saw more explosiveness. I felt like the ability to, again, like have it blocked for 5, but go for 20 or 30. Yeah, I do feel like you saw a little bit more of that probably than you did against Baylor. But a really good day for the rushing attack again. And that's probably something they're going to need because you saw it even settle them in a little bit because the pass pro was like kind of up and down for it.
Can I give one more shout out to the run game real quick? Brandon Frazier, that tight end. Dude, he loves to get involved in the run game. And I don't think he's a super dynamic pass catcher. In fact, Preston Howard's probably your better pass catching tight end. This kid, back-to-back weeks now, is providing tremendous value for Auburn running the football at that tight end position. Pass pro, it was probably not as clean as you probably wanted against Ball State. I would give you that. I will say a couple of the holds, I think we're more on Jackson Arnold trying to probably escape pockets when he could have just sat in there and settled in. And again, I thought Jackson Arnold did a good job there. We just got to continue to, sit in the pocket and go get the ball out to your playmakers in space. I'm not too concerned about the offensive line. We'll see as we get into SEC play. Second biggest storyline on the night, Dale, the defense. That's the defense that I envisioned Auburn having to start 2025. It was sloppy against Baylor. Now, let's just mention that real quick, Dill. That Baylor offense might just be freaking sick, by the way, because they went on the road to SMU, took care of business against the top 20 team, and Sawyer Robertson with those weapons on the outside. That might have been a situation where, yes, was Auburn really sloppy in coverage at times? Absolutely. Sawyer Robertson, that Baylor, they might just be one of the better offenses in the country. This is how I envision that front seven, man. Like this pass rush, by the way, and I know Ball State didn't try to throw the football a ton, but when you talk about Keyron Crawford, Keldrick Falk, Amaris Williams, and I'd probably give Malik Blockton that fourth guy, and like they can kick Keldrick Falk on the inside. That might be the best pass rush, like 4 guys that you'll see in the SEC. I love Auburn's ability to create the negative plays they'll be able to create, especially in a conference, Dill, where you're looking across the SEC landscape and you're evaluating offensive lines. There ain't that many good offensive lines in this conference this year, and I think Auburn has a defensive line to punish teams in the SEC in 2025.
Yeah, and Amaris Williams, that's back-to-back day games, I should say, to me, where he is just dominating. I mean, he is so explosive. For a guy who, again, he's only 6'2", he does look like he has kind of long arms.
He does.
He really uses every ounce of length he has, gets guys off him, doesn't really get caught up too much. He is playing really, really well. I'm glad to see he was healthy because that was probably the big thing coming off the Baylor game. I know he came out late. I mean, didn't really skip a beat because he was dominating again.
The OG Auburn listeners, y'all know how I feel about Amaris Williams. I think this kid was a stud out of high school. I think he's going to be a stud for Auburn, and we're starting to see that with this kid in year 2. Here's the other thing I'll say, Dale. Maybe a little bit of a concern in terms of depth in the middle of that defensive line going into 2025. You hit the portal for a couple of guys, weren't sure what you were going to get, weren't sure what you were going to get from the true freshman. I think you got more than probably you thought you were going to get. I mean, you talk about a guy like Jay Hardy, you talk about a guy like Dallas Walker and say, hey, these guys are providing more value than I thought they were going to provide to Auburn in the middle of the defensive line, which is important because, hey, you look at Auburn and say, if we can stop the run with the secondary, I think Auburn can be. And I know it's been sloppy at times, but I know they can be good. In the pass rush unit they have, if we can be really gritty against the run, force these teams into second, third, and obvious passing situations, DJ Durkin's going to have a field day with this Auburn defense. Linebackers, man, Xavier Atkins, Rob Woodyard. I'll give you the T-box. I got some takes too. I feel like I'm talking a lot. So what did you see from the Auburn linebacker Saturday night?
I just don't know where this new version of Robert Woodyard's come from because I felt like he played a little bit last year. Like, okay, that's a fine veteran linebacker. Like, I didn't see this type of range he has, this type of like downhill, aggressive, explosive ability to make plays behind the line. Like, even go back to that Baylor game, that one play where he just ran right through a block, makes a play behind the line. Like, I didn't really see that in his game. And I feel like a lot of Auburn fans, when we were talking depth chart earlier in the year, earlier in the spring, I should probably say, I'd always be like, well, I'm sure they're going to do something other than Robert Woodyard. And I always thought Riddick was going to be the guy. I mean,
Me
Robert
too.
Woodyard and Atkins have kind of taken control of that linebacker room and really played good football.
Clearly the best two linebackers on this football team, at least the 2-week sample size that we have so far. Here's what I love. It's a perfect fit for what DJ Durkin wants, man. Right? What does DJ Durkin want in his linebackers? He wants to be aggressive. He wants to get downhill. These kids' abilities to penetrate and attack the line of scrimmage, get behind the line of scrimmage, and create negative plays, the foundation of what DJ Durkin wants to be on defense. I love when you get teams, they want to do something. They also have the personnel to do it. That's kind of rare. It's what's making Florida State really dangerous too, man. Does Florida State have the best roster in the country? No, they have the personnel that matches what they want to do on both sides of the ball. That's what's making Florida State dangerous. I think Auburn pretty damn similar on defense. Like, hey, we need linebackers that can get downhill. We need defensive linemen that can penetrate. Golly, do you have that? Again, you didn't really get to see the secondary get tested all that much. That's something I want to see because that was a disappointing performance week 1 for the secondary against Baylor. We've seen the secondary play good, right? And so there's some quiet confidence that, hey, maybe hats off to Baylor's offense. Secondary maybe just a little sluggish week 1. Again, the main part, why are we recording this episode? We wouldn't be recording it if it just looked like it did against Baylor. Like the reason we're hopping on talking Auburn is I thought you saw some things, even against Ball State, that should fire up some Auburn fans. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.